Welcome back to Football Forecast, where we've seen England have a dominant win against Serbia, and you've actually got to give them a round of applause because no one really expected England, I think, to go away to Eastern Europe and manage to come away with a 5-0 win against a decent Serbian team, which really had the ability to frustrate and threaten England at points. And that was proven by my actual match prediction. I saw this game sort of ending in a 1-1 draw, and I thought it was going to be a really tough battle for England, and they were going to struggle. And Tuchel was once again going to become undone by not sort of having enough attacking intent. He's absolutely proved me wrong tonight, and I think he's proved a lot of people in England wrong that were worried about this sort of idea of Tuchel being the manager and questioning his ability to lead this team to victory, but also questioning the players who haven't been good enough so far. But what we saw tonight was a completely different performance. Stats aren't everything in football. You're still going to put the ball in the back of the net, but that is exactly what England did tonight, having four expected goals, but still scoring 5 of them. They honestly could have had more goals, so it felt like. There was a lot of chances. Could have England even converted more, obviously having 6 big chances. But what I was so impressed with how dominant they were. Often you can have lots of possession, but it can often just be moving it around the back. We very much see this these days in the Prem with sides like Arsenal, maybe Manchester City recently, where you should just move the ball around the back without actually really threatening. What England did tonight was absolutely dominate and threaten. Not to say, though, that Serbia really gave England much of a choice to play like that, because sort of how they took the game on. Serbia very much sat in for most of the game, but that's sort of what we expected from Serbia. I thought they could have gone maybe a little bit more attacking, maybe played 2 strikers up front, maybe could have gone Vlahovic and Mitrovic. I think that would have been a very good combination, and that would have threatened more. But clearly England deserved this win, and that momentum chart really shows the game. England dominated for high periods of the game. There were little times where Serbia maybe had like a little shot, as you can see they had 3 shots, but apart from that, nothing really to stop this England team in a very good win. Look at sort of how each player performed that England put out tonight. I mean, the defence, including the keeper, had absolutely nothing to do. You could have probably chucked the Championship, even League 1, League 2 level defenders, and I think they would have had an alright night because it was just dominant. That's how the game played out. But I did think Gay and Konsa had especially good games because obviously they got their first goal for England and they looked like a real threat from set pieces, which is not really how I saw this game unfolding. I felt like if anybody was going to really take advantage of set pieces, it was going to be Serbia, and that's because they just have a big team. So that's usually what you'd associate with a decent side of set pieces. The likes of Milinkovic, Pavlic, but also Vlahovic and Lukic are all really big players. So you'd usually expect Serbia to be more of the threat from set pieces, but clearly England have got some very good delivery takers like Declan Rice, as we saw tonight, and that's no surprise considering he's done that at Arsenal. I do think the only real concern with that is only 1 goal came from open play, which was a brilliant goal by Madueke. There's no denying that. But could England have got maybe a couple more open play goals? Potentially, but I think this is sort of the England we expect. They're very decent from set pieces, and this is sort of how they've gone far in the past. But where could England improve going forward? I would say I don't think Gordon was the right selection today, but neither would I say Marcus Rashford was. What I would have done is I would have picked Eze, because if you look at how England played today, they absolutely dominated the ball. That's a perfect game for someone like Eze, who's very good at sort of picking pockets, sort of finding ways to get through teams, and that's what Eze really excels at. He's decent on the counter, but he's not excellent. What he's actually good at is sort of finding ways to break through low blocks. So I think Eze would have been a really good pick for this game, as well as Eze would be a very good pick for Arsenal on the weekend against Forest. But now Ange is the manager, maybe we'll see something different with that selection. And up front, Harry Kane obviously getting his goal, but also his link-up play for the second goal for Noni Madueke was brilliant. But I think a standout player tonight was really Morgan Rogers. I think he really adds something different to this England team. In my opinion, every team, as long as they're fit, him or Bellingham need to play, because they have that ability to dribble through players and and very good with the ball at their feet. Something that I think this England team does lack a bit, so the ability to drive through players and teams. And Rogers does that so well for Villa, and he did it brilliantly for England tonight. So, where does this actually leave England for the future? Well, as we've expected, and as we've come to expect from England, they are dominating their World Cup qualifier group, and that's not what I'm really bothered about, because England will always qualify for World Cups these days. It used to be more of a question where it was sort of harder, but now there's even 48 teams in it, becomes even easier. So the World Cup qualifying isn't what I'm concerned about. I wanted to see a good performance from England tonight, and we did see this. But also, I wanted to see Thomas Tuchel actually get it right tonight, which I felt he did. My only thing that I worried about going into that game is when I saw the selection of Israel Konsa over Dan Burn. I really like Israel Konsa. I think for any other game, Israel Konsa makes sense. But I think against those sort of sides, maybe you could still use someone like Dan Burn. It turns out it made no difference because at no point did Serbia really ever threaten England's goal. So that's fine. Look, he didn't get that wrong based off what happened throughout the game. But also, can England now win a World Cup? Potentially. England have shown a lot more fight and a lot more grit in this game after considering that the first 5 games I was really not convinced by Thomas Tuchel, and I was starting to think, is he actually going to have the ability to take England far at this World Cup? I still would like to see England shift to a 3 at the back because I still think it gets the best out of our players. You can check that video out on the YouTube where I explain how I think that gets the best out of every one of England's players, and I would like still to see some different players get some minutes. Maybe Eze. Obviously, there's a lot of injuries right now, like Foden, Palmer, Saka. So there's lots of players that are out for England. So we obviously didn't have a lot of choice. I still am a bit worried about that midfield, especially if Wharton's not fit for the World Cup. I think that could cause England major issues because Adam Wharton is such a good player and would suit that system well, but also suit sort of just progressing the ball better. And you can have Declan Rice sort of sitting next to him. And I think that would be the perfect midfield for England. But I did like Elliot Anderson's performance tonight. I thought he had a very solid game and very similar to what you expect from at Forest. Just a solid game, good tackler, pretty good progressor of the ball, and that sort of, I like the selection of Elliot Anderson, and currently he would still be in my World Cup squad. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, especially if you want to see more content on England, as I'm going to release England content very frequently, often around the international break when England are playing and there's no club football. But there will be also plenty of content around the club football, definitely a lot around the Premier League this weekend, but also probably a couple of games around the Championship. I do love the Championship, and I think it's a completely underrated league. And I'll also release some videos around the Champions League, maybe the Europa League, and let me know if there's any other content and football that you'd like me to see me review, preview, or any specific teams that you think I need to sort of talk about and how I would change them to make them better for the future. Anyway, that is the end of this video.